What if Jesus didn't break the laws of nature? What if he used them? For centuries, miracles have been seen as supernatural events, violations of physical reality. But modern physics is rewriting the rules of what's possible, and the deeper we go into quantum theory, the more it sounds like the mystics, including Jesus. Maybe he wasn't defying nature. Maybe he understood it more deeply than we do. Jesus turned water into wine, multiplied loaves and fishes, walked across a stormy sea. Were these divine magic tricks, or demonstrations of a deeper technology of consciousness? In modern quantum physics, we now understand that matter isn't solid. It's mostly empty space. What appears as a table, a body, or a stone is actually a field of probabilities held together by frequency. At the quantum level, particles don't have fixed positions. They respond to observation, attention, and intention. This is eerily similar to ancient mystical teachings that reality is malleable, shaped by consciousness, that everything vibrates, and that those who master inner stillness can influence the outer world. Jesus didn't need to command the universe. He tuned into it. When he said, "Have faith the size of a mustard seed," he wasn't asking for blind belief. He was speaking to quantum effect. Small shifts in inner coherence can ripple through the field and collapse probability into form. Faith, then, isn't wishful thinking, it's vibrational precision. Think of it like tuning a radio. The station is always broadcasting, but unless you're on the right frequency, all you hear is static. Jesus had mastered the art of tuning. His miracles weren't isolated events. They were resonant responses from a universe that is always listening, just not to words, but to vibration. He didn't come to break the rules of physics. He came to demonstrate how much more there is to understand. There's a pattern to how Jesus performed miracles. He often withdrew into silence beforehand, into solitude, into stillness. Why? Modern neuroscience gives us a clue. When the brain enters alpha and theta states associated with meditation, stillness, and deep focus, it stops reacting to the external world and begins to harmonize internally. This is called brainwave coherence. And with coherence, the nervous system enters parasympathetic mode: rest, repair, regeneration. And when the heart enters coherence, measured by HRV or electromagnetic fields, it becomes a broadcast tower, a carrier of intention. The HeartMath Institute has found that coherent emotions, love, gratitude, deep peace, emit fields strong enough to influence others at a distance. Now imagine a being like Jesus, whose inner state was in perfect resonance. His field wouldn't just influence people, it would entrain the space around him. He was not projecting power. He was becoming a field so coherent that everything around him began to organize in response. When he said, "Peace, be still," to the storm, he wasn't speaking at the waves. He became peace itself. His frequency overtook the chaos. The wind responded to alignment. We've seen modern examples of this on smaller scales. Yogis influencing body temperature, monks affecting random number generators, healers changing EEG patterns of people in other rooms. If human consciousness can do that in controlled experiments, what could it do in its purest, most awakened form? It sounds impossible, walking on the surface of a lake. But so does quantum tunneling, the ability of particles to pass through barriers they shouldn't be able to. In the quantum world, particles behave like waves. They disappear, reappear, move through walls. They're not bound by the Newtonian framework. They flow with possibility. What if Jesus didn't defy gravity, but shifted the rules of his own interaction with the field? Quantum physicists suggest that matter, in its wave state, is non-local and fluid. Only when observed does it localize. Jesus may have reached a level of consciousness where his body no longer fully participated in the classical material world. In such a state, density becomes negotiable, boundaries soften, and the self becomes waveform, not object. Stories from Eastern traditions echo this: monks sitting in meditation and levitating, saints walking through walls. In all cases, it's never about ego. It's about resonance, a full-body surrender to the field. When Peter tried to walk on water and failed, Jesus said, "O ye of little faith." That phrase has been misread for centuries. He wasn't chastising him, he was pointing to a principle. Without sustained coherence, the field destabilizes. The miraculous depends on the maintenance of vibration, not a burst of belief, but the stillness behind it. The story of Lazarus defies logic. Dead 4 days, entombed, yet with a single phrase, "Lazarus, come forth," Jesus reverses the ultimate outcome. Or does he? Modern biology knows that death is not a switch. It's a slow dimming. Cells continue to show activity after the heart stops. The biofield, or energetic blueprint of the body, often lingers. What if Jesus wasn't summoning a soul from some faraway place, but reactivating that lingering field? Sound, breath, and name. These are not random. In ancient Egyptian, Hebrew, and Sumerian traditions, names carried frequency. To speak one's true name with intention was to access the deepest layer of their being, and breath, ruach in Hebrew, pneuma in Greek, is synonymous with spirit. Jesus didn't use drama, he didn't chant, he spoke directly, with clarity, because in that moment, it wasn't about theatrics, it was about activating coherence in a dormant field. In modern terms, imagine a tuning fork being struck beside a string. The string, if matched in frequency, begins to vibrate. Lazarus was the string, Jesus was the frequency. When he said, "I am the resurrection and the life," he wasn't talking about doctrine, he was speaking as a field, coherent enough to reorganize reality around it. And perhaps, just perhaps, resurrection isn't a one-time miracle, but a template we've forgotten. To Jesus, the body wasn't a disposable shell. It was sacred architecture, a temple of vibration and light capable of channeling divine intelligence. In the Gospel of Thomas, he says, "If the body came into being because of the spirit, it is a marvel. But if the spirit came into being because of the body, it is a marvel of marvels." This isn't metaphor, it's physics wrapped in parable. Modern science now tells us the body emits biophotons, tiny pulses of light from DNA that may serve as a communication system. Some researchers believe this light encodes information, and mystics always said the body could become a vessel of light. Jesus didn't heal by overpowering sickness, he restored vibrational memory. Each word he spoke was like a code, a waveform. He tuned people back into themselves, back into source. Consider his statement, "Let your eye be single, and your body will be full of light." The pineal gland, long regarded as the third eye, is photoreceptive. It regulates circadian rhythm, melatonin, and possibly access to altered states. Jesus may have been pointing directly to inner technology. The early church turned these into doctrines, but perhaps Jesus was describing anatomy. Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you, not around you, not above you, within." Every teaching he gave pointed inward, not to worship, but to access, not to dependence, but alignment. The miracles weren't for show. They were demonstrations of what's possible when consciousness aligns with source, when vibration, thought, emotion, and biology become one instrument. Mystics call it divine union. Physicists call it zero-point coherence. Jesus simply called it faith. In sacred geometry, we find this mirrored. The vesica piscis, the flower of life, the spiral of phi, patterns that mirror creation, harmony, and coherence. These aren't just symbols, they're energetic blueprints. And Jesus lived by them. He walked in resonance, he spoke in code, He healed through entrainment. He said, "Greater works than these shall you do," not as metaphor, as inheritance, because we are not sinners begging for mercy. We are frequencies learning to reattune. The Logos, word, is not language, it's vibration. Faith is not belief, it's frequency. And miracles, they are not anomalies. They are the inevitable result of resonance. When you remember this, you don't just believe in miracles, you become one. They told you Jesus broke the rules of reality, but what if he revealed the structure behind it? In the next video, we decode the sacred geometry hidden in every miracle and why light, frequency, and intention might be the real Trinity. Watch next. The sacred geometry of miracles, what the church never understood.